Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. We are back again with the review of Solasta, Crown of the Magister. I played this game last year, but the channel wasn't doing game reviews at that time. I figured now would be a good time to circle back and do this since we have the exciting new Lost Valley DLC coming out. As usual, I want to start with what I enjoyed about this experience. Character creation is absolutely fantastic in this game. Solasta allows you to either use pre-generated characters or manually create the 4 members of your party. I never played the Icewind Dale series, so the idea of creating my entire party up front was completely foreign to me. Getting to know unique party members is one of my favorite parts of gaming, so I thought manually creating them would harm my experience. That's not the case here at all. First, you'll get to pick your race, and I do think there's some work to be done in this area. The game comes with a choice of 2 dwarf types, 2 halfling types, 2 elf types, a half-elf, and a human. If you purchase the Primal Calling DLC, then you can also choose half-orcs. From a mechanics standpoint, the choices are fantastic, with all of them providing unique bonuses and symmetry with specific classes. But honestly, I am tired of playing fantasy games where the bulk of my choices are dwarves, elves, humans, and halflings. D&D has such a wide array of races to choose from that are almost never available in video games. Minotaurs, owlins, satyrs, full orcs, dragonborns, fairies, and centaurs are almost wholly untouched by these types of games. Better yet, can we please start getting the option to play a race that's usually evil? I'd love to be a kobold, lizard folk, bugbear, or even a hobgoblin. Why do the same list of races get showcased again and again? I am looking forward to one day seeing a developer take the bull by the horns and give us wholly unique options. Next, you will pick a class, and here's where the process truly shines. Your base choices are cleric, fighter, paladin, ranger, rogue, and wizard. A free DLC added sorcerer, and if you purchase Primal Calling, then barbarian and druid are added as well. What's truly remarkable about this step is Tactical Adventures has an interface that shows you the entire tree for your class and subclass in a beginner-friendly, easy-to-use format. Proficiencies, skills, primary feats, and starting equipment are all clearly listed. At the click of a button, you can see what subclasses are available at level 3. You can also see, based on each subclass, what you will get all the way to level 10. No mumbo jumbo or hard to understand jargon. It's all just provided in plain English. The only thing that's missing is a full spell list. If you choose a paladin, their spells will be listed all the way to level 10. Wizard, sorcerer, cleric, and druid only have their level 1 spells listed, so you'll have to figure out at each spell level what applies to your build. All in all, it's a fantastic system, and the classes are very well balanced. I finished the game with a half-orc barbarian, dwarf cleric, high elf sorcerer, and a marsh halfling rogue. All of them were phenomenal in their own way, and it was a blast, leveling them up to 10. Next, you pick your background, and this choice actually matters quite a bit for your character, from both a mechanics and a conversational standpoint. Each selection has background features, which is going to add something to your character. A lawkeeper will become proficient in perception, intimidation, and martial weapons, while an aristocrat will become proficient in history, persuasion, and intimidation, while also gaining 2 additional languages to choose from. More on the languages later. The standard background choices are academic, acolyte, aristocrat, lawkeeper, lowlife, philosopher, sellsword, and spy. As you can see, there's a really nice variety in your available selection. If you have purchased the Primal Calling DLC, then Wanderer will be added to this list. Each background has a specific quest associated with it that will come up in the game. There were 4 backgrounds on my party, and honestly, all the quests were really fun and unique compared to the things you usually do in the game. Once your background is selected, you also get to choose personality flags. This helps you to flesh out exactly what kind of person this party member is. You can have one party member who is altruistic and lawful on the same team with someone who is greedy and violent. This system is part of the reason why not getting party members created by the developers isn't so bad. Your 4 manually created party members will speak during conversations based upon the personality flags you give each of them. And depending upon the mix, this can create some really entertaining banter. Next, you pick your ability scores. And again, the focus is on complete clarity. On the right-hand side, you'll see the name of the class you selected, along with which ability scores you should focus on. Putting your mouse cursor over each ability tells you what it does, and underneath it, you can see how much of a bonus you have for the ability and where that bonus comes from. Fabulous. Next is your list of proficiencies. The only thing here that might trip people up is you have to pay attention to the eye on the lower right of some skills. The full list of skills you might need for a campaign are listed here, even if it doesn't apply to Crown of the Magister. The eye will let you know that while this skill is available, you would never use it for the campaign, so it's useless to pick it up. At the bottom of the list, you'll see what languages you have access to, which again, I think is really cool. It's very easy to have all the languages you need for the base campaign, but hopefully future campaigns reward players for having a variety of different languages they understand. Finally, you have some flexibility regarding how your character looks. As always, I especially like the ability to age my character. Once you have finished creating your characters, you'll probably want to play the intro to the game, which is another cool feature. Basically, all 4 of your characters explain why they are headed to the main town area, and it also serves as a tutorial. This small section reviews many of the crucial parts of the mechanics in the game, while also giving all of your party members the opportunity to talk. This is important because you can quickly determine if you hate a particular voice or if a personality type you've chosen for a character really doesn't work for you. There's an option to skip the intro and head right into the campaign as well. I wouldn't play through the intro more than once, but I think it's a great addition to the game. After starting the campaign, you will quickly get an opportunity to enter combat, and this is another area the game truly shines in. You probably spent quite a bit of time putting together these 4 characters, so when they work in synchrony, it is such a joy to see. Solasta very closely follows the D&D 5th edition rule set, and it works perfectly in a video game format. Initiative, movement, and actions will all be very familiar to anyone who has played D&D before. Even if you haven't, everything is laid out in such a clear format that should be very easy to pick up for a newbie. What makes combat even better is each battle is a handcrafted encounter Tactical Adventures has created. There are no random encounters in the game. You can be ambushed while traveling the global map, but even those are specific enemies and setups that have been put together. There's a real feeling in this game that every combat situation is meaningful. Enemies are very diverse and challenging for most of the game. I especially like how many options enemies have for movement during combat. Some of them fly, some walk on walls, some can hang suspended from the ceiling. It's super creepy how some of them approach you, and it makes the fights even more enjoyable. Now let's move to some parts of the game I am neutral on. There are several factions in the campaign that have different approval levels of you. These levels can improve by turning in certain items to them or sometimes completing a specific quest. As their approval level rises, they'll let you purchase higher quality items. The cool thing about this is every faction provides different types of items, so you can use them to flesh out more of your builds. You can also have conversations with the faction representative, and this sometimes provides a little world building that explains the faction's purpose in the area. My issue with the factions is they are basically centered around fetch quests. Either you turn in an item you already found, or they send you to get an item. Anytime you are sent to get something, it's always at a location you've previously visited, so there's a lot of backtracking in the game if you want to do side quests. Treks across the global map happen in game time, so you have to hunt for food, walk through dangerous areas, and occasionally a random encounter might happen. So these side quests can tack on a significant amount of time in a way that's not very engaging for the player. I'd like to see factions get real quests and more world building to clarify who we are actually working with. I am also not a big fan of how gear works in this game. Crafting new weapons and armor is relatively painless, and I do appreciate that. However, all the gear is capped at +1. This means it's very possible you get an item in the first few hours that you end up using the entire game. The game lacks a feeling of progression regarding the gear that you use. I have never played a full level 20 D&D campaign, but by level 10, I would think you are using +2 items. Even if that's not the case and the cap makes sense, I think a better job needs to be done providing clothing and regular items with special qualities that make you feel like you are getting something new. Quick note before we get started on things I didn't like. If you have enjoyed this review, I would really appreciate you hitting the like button. I use that information to determine what kind of content the channel would like to see and the quality of the content I am providing. This also helps my videos spread to more people. I really appreciate all of your support. All right, now let's get into the things I didn't like. First, the graphics do not look good, most especially the character models. It's interesting to me that the developers chose a Mass Effect style of conversation, knowing that their models are unpleasant to look at. This issue is across the board, whether it's your party members, NPCs, or enemies. While environments across the world map are varied, and some settings are really cool, the graphics remain a problem throughout the game. But the more problematic issue is the story and writing, both of which are weak areas in the game. The storyline is extremely linear and your choices for the most part do not matter. Oftentimes you are saddled with quest characters that you have to babysit, which breaks up the pacing and basically forces you to continue in the main story, even if you would like to move into some of the side content. The story ending was also anticlimactic and disappointing. There were several instances where the dialogue in the game was almost cringeworthy. The council that provides main missions are especially difficult to listen to. None of them sound like adults or people who actually earn their positions. As far as party banter, sarcasm and jokes for the most part work pretty well. Anytime the situation gets serious though, the banter falls flat for me. World building is also a significant weak point that makes the story worse. There is not nearly enough effort put into making the lore and history of the various people you meet interesting. The mistakes in this regard start right from the beginning. You get a cutscene that is convoluted and does little to pull you into the story. After the tutorial, the game immediately puts you in the main hub, but virtually nobody there will talk to you. This starts the player off with a feeling that the game's major city is basically dead. You go into the first mission with very little buy-in or information. Over time, you can talk to more people, but that issue of a lack of understanding and feeling no connection to this world you're traveling in persists throughout the game. Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Solasta. The character creation and combat are absolutely fantastic. Despite the weaknesses in the story, I believe the experience is well worth your purchase, and I'm looking forward to what Tactical Adventures will do next. I hope all of you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like, share this content, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next video. Take care.